Hello? Yay. Yay. I really appreciate everybody coming today. So, you're here for what the heck is hermeneutics? Raise of hands for anyone who's heard that word before today. Well done. Thanks for showing up. This is not a new word. People study it who study philosophy and ethics, and this has been applied to other disciplines, and they're even doing a hermeneutics report on hermeneutics of AI. So this is not super novel. However, in my research, I found zero evidence of this being applied to cyber, or, and more specifically, where I think it's most applicable, the cyber threat intelligence. Clicker button. Right. Let's see. Oh, good. Perfect. So what exactly have you gotten yourself into for the next 40 minutes? Yes, I know I have an hour talk. I will not take your whole hour. I hope that doesn't disappoint anybody. If you really like, I can dance for 2 minutes at the end, but no more than 2 minutes. I'm not sure you actually want to see that. So you're going to learn about cyber threat intelligence as if you've never seen it before. I'm going to assume that you know nothing. So we're going to go over some of the very, very basics. And by the end of this, you will all know just about as much as most people know about cyber threat intelligence, plus some additional knowledge. So I'm going to teach you how to use these skills to create finished intelligence. Finished intelligence is kind of our bread and butter. This is the whole reason why we do cyber threat intelligence, and there is good finished intelligence out there. There's some people that do it exceptionally well. The problem is that there is no training available to create this finished intelligence that I've found. A lot of it is very basic and technical focused. I'm going to teach you how to practice your skills. You don't need to be doing cyber threat intelligence as a discipline to be using these skills, and you can apply them in your real everyday life. I am going to talk about the liberal arts. Anyone here come with a liberal arts background of any type? Very well. Very good. You guys are my people. And of course, I'm going to talk about what the heck is hermeneutics. Who knew how to pronounce it when they saw it on the track? Very good. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. It is how my school pronounced it, for the record. I did, however, get the red squiggly line every single time I typed out the word. So I still have yet to type it out correctly. So I just want to talk about why I do this, why I love my job. I'm Cherie Burgett. I am the cyber threat director for the Mining and Metals ISAC. It is my job to put together the picture for an entire sector for threat intelligence. And by the way, lucky me, I happen to be working for the only industry that most cyber threat intelligence companies forgot exists as a sector. Most people use the critical infrastructure list as their guide on how to break up each industry. And if you ever take a look at that list and find where the mining is, let me know. I've been looking for 8 years. So for me, why I do this is because when I share information with people, I love sharing information. I am not a very private person. I love telling people things. I love seeing their eyes light up. I love when I can change someone's mind about something, see the aha moment, see where they fit in. And so for that, to me, is what information sharing is all about, is teaching you and sharing the ideas so that we can all learn and find those epiphany moments. And now we'll get into it. I took this off of Wikipedia. This is a real word, I promise. I didn't write the page myself. And so for modern hermeneutics, what year do you think that that was created in? Like, what do we refer to modern hermeneutics? What century would you guess? Anyone? Anyone in the room? What? Exactly, 15th century is modern hermeneutics. So this is very modern stuff we're talking about here, cutting edge technology. And so hermeneutics is the theory and the methodology of translating or interpreting religious texts, psychological texts, and getting to know things in context of history, what was going on, maybe about the author. I mean, maybe the author had a bad stomachache that day, and you know, you want to know, you learn more about someone by the clues they leave behind in their writing. Modern hermeneutics includes, you know, sign symbols. Think memes might be considered modern hermeneutics. We speak in memes and emojis, and some people have gotten really good at interpreting a long string of emojis. This is especially applicable in law and history, and of course, my parents made me go to Bible college when I graduated high school, so also theology. There are some fundamentals that everyone learns when they learn hermeneutics. One is the hermeneutic circle, which we will go into. A big part of it is the presuppositions. Presuppositions and pre-understandings. These are the things that you would assume people would know, or maybe they are the false impressions, or maybe there's detecting deception, or a lie, or a fallacy. And signs and symbols, emojis and memes. I can't wait till I get to the part where I'm starting to develop this, and I write the part about the memes and emojis, because that sounds like a blast. I can't wait to research the history of, you know, how people communicate using pictures. So let's start learning some cyber threat intelligence training. So basically, a lot of companies, they even provide this for free. Some people charge. Most of the cyber threat intelligence training will include both of these. We like circles, we like pyramids, because we like shapes. So if you start with the first one, it's the planning for what you're looking for. It's learning about your company, your organization, what it needs. This actually doesn't even involve any, well, actually involves a lot of research, but this could just mean talking to your teammates, talking to other people in the business, see what they're seeing. And you're planning your collection of this data based around their needs, because for threat intelligence to be actual threat intelligence, it has to be the right information delivered to the right person that they need to use to drive business decisions. If you're not driving business decisions, it's not really intelligence, it's just information. It's a lot of threat information. And I think that's something that we have forgotten in CTI, because we're talking about IOCs, TTPs, and a lot of people, when you're delivering them, like if you're delivering something to a CFO, they do not want to see your MITRE ATT&CK framework. They really don't. They have no interest in your MITRE ATT&CK framework, no matter how, you know, no matter how pretty it looks. They don't know, they don't care about the numbers that you put for the IOCs. They don't care about the domains. They just want to know that you blocked them. in the collection, the processing. Okay, we're going to skip all the way through to step 5 here, dissemination and feedback. All right, so this is what creates the loop for the cyber, the CTI lifecycle. It's you deliver the threat intelligence that you've created, you work so hard for, and then they give you feedback. And then it goes back into planning because you learn more about whether or not it was useful, and whether or not how they were able to use it, or if they need more. And then so the second part of this is the pyramid of pain. Who here knows about the pyramid of pain? Who's seen it? I don't think you're, I think there is a rule. These clickers like to click. I think there's a rule that you cannot give a CTI talk without including this slide. And I think that was it's like if you don't put this in, you can no longer practice as a CTI professional. So anyway, a little bit of an overview. Hash values, super trivial to change. That's what we're talking about, trivial. It's very easy, you just change a little something and the hash is different. IP address is fairly easy to change and reroute those. Domains pop up all the time, simple. Network hosts and artifacts, yeah, okay. The tools, absolutely challenging, which is really interesting whenever, the government does a really big takedown and people lose their ransomware as a service provider and they need to go shopping for some new tools, so that's kind of fun. And then the TTPs, their tactics and procedures, those ones usually don't change at all. Like those are the ones, they modify them, they mature, but usually if a tactic works and it's effective on one person, it's going to be effective on the next guy. Congrats! Well done. You guys are all now threat analysts. I hope you enjoyed the training. I hope you enjoyed the training. Okay, now what? So what do you do with that? You learn how to scrape some IOCs. You learn how to map some TTPs to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Now what? Is that finished intelligence? Like, are they useful? And where do we start? Let's talk about that feedback loop. Remember that cyber CTI lifecycle? Very important part of that is the feedback. How many people think that CTI professionals get a lot of feedback when they submit their intelligence out? Some do. Some get actually really good responses. Some do not. It goes into the black hole. And sometimes you have to start begging, pleading, please, 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 and you start begging for this feedback because you can't do your job without it. And so maybe that's the wrong approach. Like maybe we just need to get to know the people that we're working with better, so that they are more comfortable giving you that feedback. Or maybe you can ask, or maybe you can get to know and predict what maybe they might need. And this involves with getting out from behind your computer, getting off the dark web, getting off the the tips, and actually talking to people and learning about your company, learning about the organization you're protecting, learning about the people that work in their organization and how they interact. Watch people. So the feedback loop is not necessarily necessary, but the people who do it well are the people who have a really good relationship with their coworkers and their leadership. And then there's this circle here. This is where we're going. This circle actually popped up in a CTI training of mine. I think they didn't realize it was missing something. I found the original source of this circle, and it came from a roadmap for SMEs to adopt AI in threat intelligence. Who can tell me what's missing? Okay, so is this still a circle? It is a circle. So what do you do after you distribute the stuff? Yeah, doesn't sound very circular to me. It's pictured in a circle. It is broken. And this is how we're training our CTI models. Think about that. All right, visualizing the analysis process. Also linear. We have our text. We add our context. And we do our little mental magic and brain analysis, and out comes an interpretation. And that's how most people who are developing AI, or even just casually think, this is how it works, this is the process. It sounds very linear. But actually, and this is how AI is, they're training it. But if people don't really understand how our brains work and how analysts are, the good ones, are analyzing things, what they do with them, how can we expect AI to mimic that? And I don't have an answer for that, but I can tell you every single CTI product that I use has some form of ChatGPT bolted into it that I didn't ask for. So it is frustrating. And then to make matters worse, the threat intelligence, or the outputs of these, I see them copied and pasted into reports, or actually the AI will create a report and people will be passing it off as finished intelligence. And that's scary. It's frightening, and that's what companies, AI companies, especially the ones who want to make a profit, are pushing on the smaller businesses and people who do not have CTI analysts who work for them, unfortunately. So this isn't a linear process at all. Text has to be revisited. How often have you listened to a song and gone through like an emotional ordeal and then listened to the same song and had a new perspective on the meaning? How often have you, when something, new information comes in, you're like, oh, that's right, I was wrong. How many times have you had that aha moment? The things that we live for. How many of you have tried to think, well, what would this person think? What are they thinking? Trying to have a little bit of empathy, trying to understand their situation. This process isn't linear because we keep going back to it. If it was linear, we wouldn't be able to change our minds when presented with new information. And so here we have the hermeneutic circle, which is very plain. I know it looks just like everyone else's online, so honest. It can actually get more complicated, but for the sake of this course, I'm going to go with the simplified version that they teach, scholars in university. First, we'll start off with the written text. This is you. You start off with your own pre-understandings. You have some sort of knowledge or assumed knowledge that it is expected that the reader will know. The reader expects that you know why they're saying that. Otherwise, they would include more context. You can add context. You can start looking into the surrounding events. You can look at, geographical location. You can look at culture. You can look at, the person's family situation. You can look at maybe, if we're looking at, a group of people, whether or not they came out of like a crime family. Or maybe they're just kind of, thugs on the street trying to make a living, and maybe they think that they won't get shot if they turn to hacking because it's a safer occupation. So this is the context. You try to understand, the written text in the context. And then you have an interpretation, linear process. But then new context comes along, and then you then you go back to the written text and then do the whole thing over again. And then you can use this to challenge your biases. You can use this to see what might, see the possibilities. You can use this to absolutely embrace your bias, because everything has bias, and it's okay. It's okay to say, okay, for this, I think it's this, and try the most extremes, and then you find something in the middle, or what's more likely, and weigh that. And the way that AI companies are fixing some of the hallucinations or issues with AI is to have a human in the loop. Okay? This is absolutely essential. This is the thing that people are trying to skirt and get away with. But I beg you, please have a human in the loop with this experimental technology. Otherwise, undesired effects will happen. And this is how things should work, is to have the human in the loop. Every step of the process, to maybe babysit it. And if it's done well, I hope CTI goes the way of this. So, Amazon Fresh, just walk out. For those who don't know, Amazon Fresh has these lines of stores that you can go in and you can put stuff in your basket and you can put it in a bag and just walk out. And it'll charge your credit card that you scanned in on the way in. The problem with that is that it was supposed to be super cool technology that was watching this, and the cameras were everywhere, and it was super high tech. And then they put some humans in, they made sure they put humans in the loop because they knew there would be errors. What they didn't anticipate was how many errors, that they closed down the program, and they went for carts that scanned the stuff because that was a better idea. And so my hope with CTI is that people will try this, keep humans in the loop, the humans will revolt, and maybe they'll put it somewhere else where it's more useful, like maybe scraping IOCs. So, hermeneutics as a framework to create the finished product. Finished intelligence is something that has been fully analyzed and it has been tailored to the person that is receiving it. And for that, you need to understand why the why. And so this is something that I'm actually incorporating because this is an epiphany that I've actually come to recently. I started working on this project in August. You guys are the very first to be hearing me present about it. I am creating the whole framework and training materials, and I am releasing it to the public because that's what I do. I like to share. Anyway, and because it is needed. I mean, nobody's going to pay to do this because it's not profitable. Understand your organization's priorities. Understand what their incident response plan is. What are their tactical priorities? What are the business objectives? You have to match everything that you do in cyber to what the business is doing, including cyber threat intelligence. In fact, cyber threat intelligence done really well can feed up to the highest levels of the board, and they will give you more money because you can speak their language if you know how to do it well and explain the why. And so for all intelligence that I am putting out now, I am answering the very, very most basic questions. Why is this important, and how will this information help you? I am not releasing a single bit of finished intelligence to my members without answering those two things. I know that sounds super simple, obvious, but here I am. I'm reformed. All right, so where to start? Understanding the objectives that you are, the entity that you're providing the intelligence to. You have to know what the business is doing. You have to know why you're doing it. You have to understand what's going on in your sector. And this involves talking to people, doing research, learning about the industry that you work in. It involves maybe taking a 101 class of, name your industry. It may mean taking tours of a steel mill. You know, because you have to understand the safety implications and the technology that they're using for the people on the ground, the people who are doing the day-to-day work. That is what you're doing. You are not there just to map IOCs and TTPs to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Find the fallacies in the text that you're reading. And it's also important to call them out, because in high stress times, people aren't always able to analyze very well. And so it's very important to have an analyst with a clear head that can call out the lies and the deception. And limit your information to only what's needed. You should not be sending IOCs to your CFO. If you're doing that, I'm so sorry. And you don't have to explain everything. Just give them the facts. And so it's very hard for me to do like an hour-long talk, because my talks are usually 5 minutes, because I really use the word briefing. There's a hint in the word. It's very brief, and it's just the facts. It's just the things that people need to know, because if I say too much, I might confuse it, I might muddle it. They might have questions, and it might lead down to rabbit holes that they don't necessarily need to go down. And most importantly, you have to respect the time of people. Time is the most precious resource, and your job is to give people their time back so that they don't have to worry about the things, so they can have the right information to make the decisions they need to make. All right, on to the bread and butter of some hermeneutics, presuppositions. Okay, so my favorite, these are the fallacies that are in written language or even spoken language. These are the things definitely to watch out for. And my favorite example is something that you guys are all very familiar with, if-then statements. Who's not familiar with an if-then statement? You guys, I'm speaking your language, I know I am. So this is an excerpt from a ransom note. This is the El Dorado ransomware as a service family. This is just a very small part of that ransom note that I zeroed in on. If you refuse to cooperate with us, it will lead to the following consequences for your company. All data downloaded from your network will be published for free or even sold. Your systems will be reattacked continuously. Now that we know all your weak spots, and it is a real ransom note, because every ransom note has to have some misspellings in it, or you won't believe it's real. We will also attack your partners and suppliers. I like how they left a space, because maybe they edited it a little bit. Maybe they wrote a sentence and it didn't come out right, and they changed their mind. We'll attack your partners, and you can face legal action for your company for the data breach. If-then statements. And so for this, a presupposition of this is if you cooperate, all the data downloaded from your network won't be published for free or sold. Your systems won't be reattacked. Yeah? We won't attack your partners and suppliers. Yeah, you're following here. And you won't have to face legal action. So if then. I'm not sure how, I really am curious how I want to see this run on an AI model and see how AI does with this one, because I think this would be an excellent test. Oops. Oh yeah, okay. All right, so when you're giving a tactical briefing on like that type of information, you keep it brief. The delivery matters. Giving a briefing is spoken, short. If you're writing a report, you can add more details. When you're writing a bulletin, it's going out to everybody. If you're on a sharing call, we call this story time. This is when people like to read headlines. So one of the favorite things I don't like, I'm sorry, one of my biggest pet peeves is when threat analysts get on an information sharing call and read CVE lists. I know this isn't meant to, I'm not joking, but can you tell me if this is the best delivery method for a CVE list is over a call, a Teams call? It's the best delivery method, everyone's gonna be able to use that data, and absolutely. I say this with love to my fellow CTI people. If you are wasting people's time with CVE lists, you do not understand intelligence very well. I say this with love. Please, yeah. Because you're not only giving them something useless, you're wasting their time, which is worse than value. It's not value add, it is negative value add. So when you're giving a briefing, which is what we're going to focus on, because we have a ransom note, we're going to assume that we're going to give a briefing to a company that has just received this ransom note, okay? We're going to keep them short and concise. You do not have to share your credentials. If you are in that room, if you are privileged enough to be in the room with the people sharing that information from and expecting a briefing, you do not have to tell them 20 minutes of backstory of why they should believe you. Respect their time. If you're there, they already trust you. And what I find for the most part is that 3-part briefings work very well. Why 3? I love the number 3. It's 3 things you can remember, 3 things that stick, 3 things, 3 parts. You know, you can have 3 people present just a small part and add to it. And I have the perfect example for you for something that was done exceptionally well, and I thought it was beautiful. So a 3-part briefing. When I was in Vegas last August, we went to see Ka. Anyone see Ka? Cirque du Soleil. Anyway, I got really, really lucky, and I got like front row tickets. Not just front row tickets, I was up front on like the corner when the door was on the other side. These tickets came with a warning. Every time that I talked to an usher, they looked at our tickets and they said, oh, I see, you guys have really good seats. Keep your hands, feet tucked in. Don't touch the performers. Safety reasons. Enjoy the show. We found our way to our seats and we sat down. And then another usher came out and said, oh great, you guys have excellent seats. There's going to be a lot of action, really close up. And we're like, yeah, we know. We're told we'll keep our feet to ourselves. Okay. They're like, we just want you to know that there's going to be a lot of screaming, yelling in your face. It's close, up front. Because a lot of people, it can be jarring if you're not expecting it. And then the 3rd person came out and said, okay, performers are going to come out through here, they're going to stop here, they're going to perform here, there's going to be a lot of action right here, here, and here. Enjoy the show. And to me, that was the perfect 3-part briefing. Each one gave a different part of that briefing. It built upon the last one. The way that they orchestrated this was beautiful. And I know that they know what they're doing because they like to script everything about the experience. But what if we could do that in our briefings? Is set it up so that each person has a little part of the story to add. It's effective, it's cohesive, one message. And definitely don't forget the call to action. Enjoy the show. So we're going to do a 3-part briefing. for this little piece of information. We're going to turn this into an intelligence briefing. And this is going to be, I'm doing great on time. This is going to be our final exercise of this. So if you refuse to cooperate with us, we know that they're lying. We've already discussed this. So all data that's downloaded from the network will be published for free or even sold. So what can anyone here tell me about what you know from, the information that's out there, open source, and experiences? Will this happen if you don't do this? Like, they will be doing it either way. In fact, if they're opportunistic, they will sell it either way. Your systems will be reattacked continuously. This one, if your systems have weaknesses and vulnerabilities and attackers know it, they will. But you know what you're going to find out during this investigation and incident? You're going to find out those weaknesses. And you're going to harden your network. You're going to close those gaps, and they will not be able to reattack you the same way. And supply chain and partners, absolutely, they are going to attack your supply chain and partners. And so we got to think about what we need to do about that. And it can lead to legal actions. Now, legal actions the hacker has no control over what legal actions happen to your company. That control falls under your domain. And it depends on what you do with the information that you have available to you. Whether or not you're doing your due diligence, whether or not you're communicating effectively. There are things that you can do to mitigate the legal actions. Get legal involved. You should not be taking legal advice from your hackers. So for the 3-part briefing, I would recommend to have a couple members of your team, one person explain why this is false. The second person explain what you can do to mitigate these. And give a more technical briefing on this. And keep it very short. And the call to action is going to be, let's maintain control of the situation. Let's take back control. Because what the attacker wants you to think is that you don't have control right now. And that's what people feel in an incident. And your main objective when you're going into that room is to inspire the team to maintain control. And lastly, this is the last part. A very good aspect of any cyber threat analyst is empathy. It's to experience what it is to be human. You have to have empathy even with your attackers to understand them. Know your enemy, know yourself, know your CEO, know what people are going through, and share those experiences. And now that you guys all have these new skills, I'm going to suggest some things that you can do to maybe start spotting some of those fallacies, the if-then statements, or the presuppositions, or revisiting things. And I say, enjoy movies. I love movies or shows that do such a really good job of acting that you feel their feelings. That you really understand why the bad guy is doing the bad thing. You really understand why the mom lost her shit. You know? Read poetry. Like, the arts are the missing link. Liberal arts especially are the missing link because we focus so much on the technical. But the technical, if we keep focusing on the technical, we're going to have the robots take over. And then we're going to have bad things happen. We're going to have unintended consequences, and then they'll be begging us to come back. So that is all I have. I actually lasted a lot longer on here than I was anticipating. Usually it's 20 minutes. I lasted 46 minutes. That is a new record for me. So Thank you very much. You can reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm glad that you guys laughed. I don't think I'm funny, but thank you. And that is all I have for you. And now I get to see you. Now I get to take the glasses off and I can actually see you guys.